want to come together as a group to review the executive session minutes for the purpose of making public. This was a rule that we passed, I believe it was 2 years ago. This council did pass a rule to make executive session minutes public. There are a lot of minutes that are still not public, and a lot of those are still tied to some unfortunate legal cases, but there are some that are not. What this does will give us the ability, so if I may, the city clerk shall distribute all executive session minutes, meeting minutes to all members who attend the executive session. And within 10 days, and this is legal, it is attached, is actually a copy of the frequently asked questions about executive session, so we reach out to the state. Within 10 days of the date of the meeting was held, a council member shall provide the clerk any feedback or objections to any material contained within the minutes within 5 days of receipt. If no objection is received within 5 days, these minutes shall be deemed to be approved by the consent of the body. So what this will do is, I know we've gone back and tried to approve minutes with some of those members who are not on the council. To be honest with you, as a council member, I've been on a lot of those meetings. I forgot a lot of those minutes, so this will make it much more timely in reference and relevant, rather. The second portion of this is the city council will schedule an executive session meeting within 14 days upon receipt of a request for the release of minutes from the executive session meeting to determine if open meeting laws warrant continued non-disclosure under General Law C-30A. Additionally, the city council shall schedule an executive session of the Malden City Council during the last weeks of both May and November of each year for the purpose of determining if the open meeting laws warrants continued non-disclosure under General Law C-308A of meeting minutes that have not previously been released. The council will vote on the release of any minutes that are no longer warranted, exception from the open meeting laws. And this is something the President Sika asked me to work on, as well as sponsor, because she came out to sponsor this as the president and being in the chair. So any questions, you can certainly ask me or the council president. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the work that both the council president and chair of ordinance have done on this. The only thing I would say is I do think this is a great paper, and I do think it should appear on our docket, though. I think that we should follow these rules, but I do think that it should appear on our docket, and we should properly send it to the Rules and Ordinance Committee for consideration. That would be my only statement.
Okay, thank you. Councilor DeMaria.
Well, I was going to say that this is fantastic. Thank you both so much. I think this is something that our city solicitor has been pushing us to do, and she was thrilled with the committee minutes that we now approve at each following meeting, and I just commend you both. I think this is fantastic. Whether it goes to ordinance and goes through that way, I'm fine with that as well. So I thank you both.
Thank you. Councilor Matheson.
Thank you. I'm willing to support this in a vote on the floor or refer it to ordinance as the sponsor may deem necessary. I will second Council Spatafora's motion to suspend documents. If we should take that vote now before we engage in debate.
Okay. Councilor Spatafora's.
Can I speak?
Good. Hold on.
Should take the vote to suspend.
I need to vote first.
I just want to say my rationale with this. Not only the council president request this. I have no problem for it. Ordinance I have no problems. We're not certainly trying to hide anything. The only thing I would just say is if this full body has no problem with it, instead of gumming up the governmental process, we can vote on the floor and effectively stop this tomorrow. Again, I'm not against it and put it in a document for ordinance, but if it's going to go ordinance and it's going to get a 4-0 vote and be sent back out in 2 weeks. I think there's been much discussion, debate on this topic the last couple weeks. This is certainly, I know, something we should have been doing in the first place. I think this is a good process. I'm willing to, there are certain instances where if it's a good idea, let's act on it. But again, I'm not against not sending it to ordinance. I just want to see the reason why under suspension of docket rules. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Spatafora's motion to suspend docket rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. And I once again, I applaud everyone for bringing this paper forward. I guess, as Councilor Crowe always likes to say, the devil's in the details. And my question is regarding May and November is perfect if we were on top of things. But my question, centers around how much of a backlog do we have? And is it something that really can be done in a meeting? Should we maybe say, we're going to start and take 2001, 2002, 2003 and do the next month, and just kind of work our way up to actually getting caught up? I don't know how bad the backlog is and how much reading we have to do and how much interaction we're going to have with the city solicitor, but it seems we might need a catch-up period.
Yes.
And that's the only thing that I kind of don't see in here. It's kind of a little restrictive.
Okay.
So that was my comment.
So Councilor Murphy, I think the rationale for this would be to change the rules as going forward, meaning that the clerk will schedule these 2 dates, or as many dates as possible, but at least it will happen on a recurring basis so we don't go back in that problem.
Okay.
But I think this body can certainly start doing that. We can start before May, but this is something we want to at least put it in the rules that they have to be at least scheduled in May, November. We can schedule every week if we decided to,
Okay.
but this is just changing the rules that automatically, let's say we catch up next year, clerk will automatically say it's time to do the review of the minutes, schedule it in May. Also, it forces the clerk to remind us to make sure they schedule in May, November. This does not limit us to only May, November. This is only just saying this is the mandate that we have to schedule at those times. Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam
I
President.
wasn't interpreting that in that manner. So.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you. Again, I think that it's, considering the questions that are up here tonight, and this is normal, I think we need to do this. I don't think that we need to rush on doing this. I do think it should appear on a docket. Even just the suspension of docket rules and talking and passing something the same night that isn't on a docket could be considered an open meeting law violation. These are not things that we should play lightly with. This is something that we absolutely should pass, but it should appear on a docket. We should all have time to digest it. Maybe it's not 5 days, maybe it's 10 days. X, Y, and Z, what the process is. All I'm saying is I think it can at least wait a week for us to pass it. We should have let it appear on a docket.
Thank you. Councilor Matheson.
Yeah, thank you. I guess my 2 cents would be if this is making us statutorily compliant, I don't think we need to wait and put it on a docket to simply say, let's follow the statute in this manner. I did hear, although I'm content to do so, I did hear Councilor Murphy make a point about how we're going to catch up with the backlog. I don't see us going back and reading 20, 30, 40 years of executive session minutes, but reading what's been provided here, it seems that we could designate someone such as Council President to approve if there's any questions about old minutes. And I would imagine that she would do that with the consultation of the city solicitor's office, so she'd have legal opinion about the confidentiality. I don't think it's necessary for all of us to meet and review all of the minutes, particularly minutes that occurred years prior to some people even coming on the council. So I think that's how you might be able to address the backlog as far as being statutorily compliant. I think that's something we could and should start doing as soon as possible, regardless of putting our intention on a document. So I think that's why we are allowed to suspend document rules. So that's my feeling on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Capel.
Yeah, I just wanted to voice my preference. I know this looks good. This is what we should do, but I do want to voice my preference for taking a breath, setting into the rules of ordinance. I know it delays it 2 weeks, but I think it just feels like it's the proper way to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I would second Councilor O'Malley's motion. I do see at least one issue with what's presented, because this says what happens when there's no objection from people, but it doesn't have a process to resolve if 2 councilors object. So I think we need some clarification. I think it'd be worth it just to wait. I mean, we could hash that out now, but it may just be worth it to wait and make that change. But I think we need to have a process to define when there's a dispute about the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of the chair, I seemed to think that there was some urgency in this. This paper wasn't drafted to go back to the previous executive session minutes, but for once, for us to move forward. I was trying to hear what you were saying, you know, we have an open meeting law complaint in front of us, so I was working with the mayor's office and the city solicitor's office to see how we could go forward with approving the executive session minutes. So I have no problem putting it into ordinance. I would have preferred to have it, you know, voted out on the floor tonight, but I do think that it's something that we need to discuss. I just want to make sure we get this in place. I don't want it to get into committee and die there for months on end. I would like to see this passed as soon as possible so we can get it in, so we can start to, you know, go back. We can have the city clerk give us, you know, months on end. And it's not necessarily no objection, it's just if we don't get one, then I can approve the minutes. If we get an objection or we get a second objection, then we go together in executive session and we discuss what your objections would be. So I look forward to this discussion in ordinance if that's where you see that it should go this evening. But I did hear you, Ryan, loud and clear that we need to address this issue. It is a huge you know, issue for the city. A couple months ago when I sat on ordinance and I got a stack of papers in front of me, I was in executive session for the majority of those minutes and I didn't feel comfortable voting on them because so much time has lapsed and I don't remember what happened in that meeting. So I think going forward, this is a good start and we need to address these issues and we need to do it, like I said, a couple of times a year to release them. We need to get in the habit of being transparent to the citizens. So look for, yes, sir. Councilor Di Maria.
Thank you, Madam President. Maybe this is a compromise. We could respectfully ask the chair of ordinance to place it on his docket next week. And once it's discussed, we can suspend docket rules and report it out next week. So it's really a delay of 1 week.
We passed a rule last year that we can't make business.
But we could do that with the suspension of docket rules because of the importance of that. So just a suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Spatafora.
Yeah, I was going to suggest probably 2 weeks. The only reason why I'm not delayed, I would want to have, and this is the policy that I know that the committee goes, I think certainly we have input in terms of days and then if there's disputes, but I want to make sure that we have everything tied up in terms of the process in doing this. I think from my perspective, being I think one of the longest council here with Council Conley and Council Anderson, first of all, I agree, I don't recall half those meetings. I would probably say, if I had to guess, probably 80% of those meetings were always lawsuits against the city. It's not as sexy as I think the public might think we do that here. And the reason why I think it's important is because some of those employees, if they're not here, I think it's an easy way we can release those minutes. But if there are current employees here that have sued the city, and there are, we have to have a process in place, especially if there's a dispute, to release those minutes. So I think what I would like to have is somebody from the mayor's office, because again, we have ongoing lawsuits, and I would want the representative from the mayor's office to be there, because sometimes they know something about the complaint that the legal office doesn't, the legal department, and then I want the legal department there, just to make sure whatever is suggested to change, we don't have to go back to them. So in 2 weeks, I'll ask probably Willie Louise from the mayor's office, as well as probably whoever, Louise, Attorney Fallon, and then I know Councilman McMahon's here as well, but the legal staff to attend that meeting so that any suggestions that are made, we can kind of take them that day and then get them out as quick as possible. So I would say at the latest 2 weeks, and I'll have that scheduled with the law office as well as the mayor's office.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Next order of business. Excuse me. Yes, Councilor Spatafora's motion, seconded Councilor Matheson, to refer this paper to ordinance. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? It's been referred.